Rock and roll. Welcome one, welcome all to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I am your happy host here on a beautiful Thursday. Weekend is here. Weekend is here. Welcome one, welcome all. We do it every night, 7 o'clock, West Coast, Best Coast time, just to give everybody a heads up. This is going to give you a little microcosm of what my pathetic life is. I love doing this show. It is my inspiration, seeing all the beautiful people. There's Sylvia, God bless her. You know, when I see all these beautiful people here, it gets me energized for our democracy and whatever. Tomorrow, or today actually, we get the Odyssey. If you don't know what this is, I don't know if we can be friends. Okay, it's the world's smallest Trojan horse, okay, in the Battle of Troy versus Greece. And I've been looking forward to seeing the Odyssey. Back in the day, back when movies were actually a cultural thing, they would all come out on Friday. And me and my little brother, welcome everybody. We're getting going here. We're going to get going. And it's going to be a rocking and rolling one tonight. I can tell you that after the president's address. But back in the day, the movies would all come out on Friday. And me and my little brother would always go to the midnight show. You know, that was our big thing. We'd see The Matrix, we'd see John Wick, you know, whatever it was. We would zero in on it, and that was a big thing we bonded over. Go see it. And here in Los Angeles, kind of one of the rites of passages. I didn't really ever do the club scene or the bar scene, but one of the things was before or after, you had to go to Tommy's. And this is like a chili burger place, open 24 hours, multiple locations through Los Angeles, kind of a legend in the hamburger world here. Not as much as In-N-Out. That's really the big brand out here on the West Coast. But Tommy's, it really had its own following, and I was a huge Tommy's fan. I'm a huge fan. Anything I'm a fan of, it's huge, right? Because of my enormous girth. But like, you know, we would go to Tommy's and then we would go see the movie, or we go see the movie and then go to Tommy's. And tomorrow night, I kind of was thinking, you know, I'm going to go see like the 11 o'clock Odyssey because everything is sold out here in Los Angeles. And I want to go see the 11 o'clock. And I was like, man, maybe I can go back in time. It's probably not going to work, but I can go get a Tommy's burger. I can get some fries. I can go see the movie. So it's very likely. I can't promise this. I don't think I'll be doing the show tomorrow. I might just, you know, do my ketamine, cocaine, Elon thing and, you know, just smolder through it. But just want to warn all you good people. That's what the plan is. John wants to relive his youth tomorrow. We'll see if he's actually successful. Welcome all. Welcome one and all to the Scorched Earth. And Donald Trump needs to go. He is literally insane. He is a wackadoodle on a wackadoodle. I don't even want to just call him stupid. I don't want to call him pathetic. I don't want to just call him corrupt. But that address tonight was literally as cuckoo as anybody in Arkham Asylum. It was pathetic. It was beneath the office, and he should be removed as our president right now. I don't really care about the JD Vance. I don't really care who the next one is. But we need the 25th Amendment, this dude. This dude is out of his effing mind. Straight up. I want to start with a quote from Abraham Lincoln, probably the greatest president we've ever had. Here's the quote. It was his first major speech in public. And Abraham warned about the undoing of the great American Republic experiment. He said, a demigod of overweening ambition who nothing left to be done in the way of building up, he would boldly set to the task of pulling everything down. The only remedy, young Abe added, was for the people to be united with each other, attached to the government and laws, and generally intelligent to successfully frustrate his designs. That is me and you. We are the ones with the intelligence. F MAGA. They can sit at the kids' table with their below 10 IQs and I heard this on YouTube and I saw this on Reddit and blah, 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 blah. This is absolutely bonkers what I heard tonight. Let's start out with some salient facts. I know that is literally the antithesis of what the Trump administration is. No charges, no names, and really no specific allegations. It was a lot of whataboutism and what about that, and the Chinese are involved, and blah, blah, blah. Let us start. And I'm going to tell you something. In the morning, we heard from ABC, NBC, and CBS they were not going to broadcast this crackadoodle thing. The White House was pushing out that he wasn't going to relitigate 2020, where he got smoked. He got smoked by our boy Joe. Smoke show. Can't take that back. When he was president, Joe came in, took him to the woodshed, they used to say. Joe smoked him. Thank you, Joe. And we heard from these three networks they weren't going to broadcast it because blah, 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 they didn't trust him. Well, I happened to go through it, and boy, CBS popped up. Whoa, CBS popped up. Tony Dokoupil, who literally is on CPR to try and save his job, as David Muir is over there literally lapping him in the ratings. Tony Dokoupil has fallen below 4 million viewers a night, which is literally kamikaze. He's about to hit Earth. They're going to fire him. Barry Weiss, who is basically handpicked by the Trump administration, the Ellisons, so they can get their Paramount CBS thing all through. She has literally destroyed CBS, and she's coming for CNN. Okay? CNN didn't run it, much to their own credit. Okay? There's actually some journalists there. Barry Weiss and the Ellisons are going to destroy CBS. Tonight was a perfect example. And I saw Tony Dokoupil. I haven't seen him much because he is literally a POS. He's an idiot on an idiot. And literally, when you want to talk about somebody who is considered good looking and literally empty from here down, that's Tony Dokoupil. Okay? Yeah. I will tell you this, if you made me bet my life, looks like I'm already getting restricted. I guess I'm angering people. Ooh, right on. Let's go. Let's double down. If you took a cognitive test between Tony Dokoupil and his animal, I don't even care if it's a pet rock. I'm betting on the animal because Tony is stupid on stupid. He's literally in Trump's stupid land. But he said, well, we were saying, I saw the broadcast, and he said, well, we said we weren't going to do it because the president was going to relitigate that, and we didn't think that was good. But then we realized that the president is actually making news, and our job here is to present the news. All right, here we go. Looks like the Ellisons are looking for another merger to get approved by Trump's FCC or SEC or whatever he's doing, whatever corrupt nonsense he's doing. So he comes on and he starts laying out the framework. Well, it's going to be about election security. He's not going to relitigate. And literally, I'm thinking to myself, how stupid are you? Do you really think this guy is going to stay on script? Do you really think he's not going to bring up 2020? I mean, literally. Well, Tony tried to present it. Obviously, he's so desperate for viewers. He's doing anything to put the net wide enough that people like you and I who have IQs over 10, obviously that excludes us from MAGA, are saying, well, maybe we'll give him a shot. I did. Put my hand up. I wanted to see the train wreck. Well, then he brings in Major Garrett, and he does have very conservative leanings. He was actually, Leslie Stahl was pulled off the 60 Minutes interview with Benjamin Netanyahu, and they put in Major Garrett. That should tell you all you need to know. And literally, it was softball after softball after softball. Oh, let's not talk about the genocide in Gaza. Let's talk about how well you're doing there as the prime minister of Israel. Yeah, okay. So then Tony and Major Garrett, before the Trump speech started, because now they're actually got some viewers who are watching them maybe, here's John. And they said that the president was going to present that there was possibly 25,000 people over 12 states who were illegally registered to vote. Okay. I want to understand everything that is going on here. In those 12 states, they both said there was 68 million voters. Okay? Now let's just say 25,000 is real. I don't believe it. I think it's nonsense, but let's go. That is less than 0.1%. Oh, okay. Okay. Literally 0.1%. That's like saying you have $100 and you lose a dime. I don't really think it's going to affect anything. I don't know, though, considering how crazy the affordability crisis is. Maybe that will matter. You know, Donald Trump's not talking about the war. He's not talking about inflation. He's not talking about the horrible unemployment numbers. He's not talking about gas. He's not talking about groceries. No, we're going to talk about this. Let us frame it in this way. He has been president for 18 months. All of a sudden, on a Thursday night in July, he says we're going to talk about election security. No names, no charges, no actual facts. Okay? Interesting. Now, just as a little aside, Donald Trump, prone to exaggeration, literally in that speech said it was 278,000, not the 25,000 the White House was putting out before the speech. Just a thought. Now, Donald Trump's narrative during this speech, and we're going to get into it, okay, is that China was doing some meddling. They were getting voter rolls. They were getting access to voter data. I want to make sure everybody is totally understanding what is coming here. Let's take Ohio and North Carolina, okay, the Tar Heel State, Buckeye State. All of their voter information is on their public websites. China's only going to go click, click, click. Okay. Now, there is a disconnect between that and actually the voter ballots. They are on a closed loop circuit when you go to the polling place. Only the states can access it. And that infuriates Donald Trump. Also, let's talk about who is in power. Okay? Donald Trump is the president. The Republicans have the Supreme Court, the White House, the Congress, and the Senate. And he is claiming China is interfering with our elections. He claims China is adversarial to him, that he is not a friend of China, that they literally wanted Joe Biden. I got a question. Maybe I'm not that smart. If China is such the enemy, why did you allow China to hold on to TikTok, a part of TikTok, when we had to sell them to, quote unquote, American investors? Remember back in the day when Joe Biden made China set a law that said China had to sell TikTok, and then Donald Trump came in and said, I'm pausing the law, which I didn't even think you could do, but okay. He also has allowed NVIDIA to sell their top-end computer chips to China. I don't know. It sure sounds to me like he's talking about China, like China's actually helping him get elected. But he wasn't portraying that tonight. Oh, no, 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 no. China wanted him out. Okay, because of some tariffs. I'm really buying this one, but let's continue. He said China extensively accessed voter data from 2020 to 2023. Look, it's public information. I want everybody to understand this. And really, the same people who make the ATM network Diebold are the same ones who make the voting system for the most part. I know there's Dominion. Remember back in 2020 or 2021, more likely, when Fox was carrying the water for Donald Trump that the election was rigged and blah, blah, blah. And then they lost almost $800 million in the defamation lawsuit. Oh, I can't even imagine when Rupert Murdoch had to write that check. Oh, man, those old bones must have been shaking on that one. Funny fact, and I don't see anybody else doing it. I don't see Fox talking about that anymore. That's weird. Sean Hannity, of course, said that it wasn't rigged, even though he said that every night when he was taken under court deposition, that is. And then, of course, Fox's out was, we're not a news organization, we're an entertainment organization. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Yeah. Trump was the president in 2020 when he said China somehow surreptitiously through the deep state and through the CIA got a hold of these voter rolls, and China didn't like him. No, they didn't like that. They didn't like him. They tried to make him look bad in 2020. He said this. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know about you, but was anybody around in 2020 when he ignored COVID? He literally tanked the United States economy. I don't think China really had to do anything about that. They just had to let the idiot do what the idiot does. I will tell you this, and I've said this many times on this podcast. Don't forget, we do it every night, 7 o'clock, except for tomorrow, West Coast, Best Coast time. We might do it. It might be special. Don't you sweat. But 2020, honestly, I think Donald Trump literally did the kamikaze. It was a suicide pact, right? If he would have at least acknowledged that COVID was a real threat to the American people, I think he would have won that election. I think the American people have an amazing ability to rally around our country and our flag when we are faced with dire consequences. I look no further than 9/11. Like literally, we will rally. It doesn't matter about political partisanship. It is absolutely about America. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Iran, right? We have attacked their country. They have rallied around their government. Even though they don't like the government, it's about the homeland, right? Well, Donald Trump literally killed 500,000 people that year because of his incompetent and just disrespect for what the COVID virus brought. He literally wanted to ignore it and thought it was going to go away. Sorry, this isn't about your sexual assaults and your pedo crimes and stuff that just seems to just disappear into the ether. No, COVID just said, we're here. We're cool. Maybe we'll get somebody stupid enough to lead the United States who's going to ignore us so we can really get ahead of steam. And that's exactly what happened. We lost 1.5 million beautiful people to that disease. We don't know how many we would have saved if we would have had somebody like Barack Obama or even George Bush. Let's go with George Bush or Joe Biden, who were helming the United States government during that crisis. They would have had better resources. They would have had better access to equipment. I will tell you this, and this is my own story. I worked in a hospital. I worked in Kaiser when COVID was going down. And I am telling you, it was bloody scary. And I will tell you this, my girl, Jean, I don't even know if she's in here. She's a nurse, right? I will tell you this, being in a hospital setting in that year of 2020, especially when the administration was denying the effects that we were seeing in front of our faces. I'm not a nurse. I was just a construction dude who did, facilities upgrades, things like that. I was nothing. I could see what these brave men and women who are medical professionals, the doctors, the nurses, the orderlies, EVS, people like that, literally, and I mean this sincerely, they were putting their life on the line. They literally were each and every day. And I literally saw these brave nurses. Nurses were pretty much my conduit. The doctors, man, they were getting out of there as soon as they could. The nurses were working 16-hour shifts. They were going out to an RV in the parking lot, getting a couple hours sleep and coming back in because so many of their compadres, their co-employees were saying, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to be around COVID. I understand that. I am not putting that down because it was bloody scary. And Donald Trump made it scarier. We couldn't get N95 mask. There was nothing like that. We couldn't get the proper PPE in the hospital because of supply shortages. He kept ignoring it until it got so overwhelming. It was like a wave. It's like walking out there and you're seeing the tidal wave coming and you start to try and run away from it and it's just too late. It just swamps you. That's exactly what 2020 was like. And I will tell you this. I have encountered people, okay? I don't even want to use the word people, but let's go with that. Who told me, oh, it was all a fraud and it was all not true. Donald Trump perpetrated that lie, that nonsense, that literally desecration of our society. I will tell you this. I saw so many heartbreaking stories. I'll tell you one. And if you watch this podcast, I apologize. I brought this story up 2 or 3 times. Like literally, family and friends couldn't get into the hospital to say goodbye to their loved ones before they passed away from COVID. Right? Literally, the whole hospital was quarantined. Every room was, and literally, you had to suit up to get into a room to see somebody. This is only nurses. The public wasn't allowed in. And then when you came out, you literally had to take off all your PPE and then literally go into the next room, suit up again. And literally these brave doctors, nurses, orderlies, EVS is the unsung hero. They were literally cleaning up all the incredible messes that were there. Literally, it would take an hour for a nurse to go from one room to another room. Literally, by the time she went in there and gave him the attention and suited up, the mask, the glasses, the beanie, the bodysuit, everything in the booties and all that stuff. And then she'd come out, take it, tie it off, and then go to the next room and do it again. And literally, I saw these brave nurses. They were only getting to see 12 or 14 patients in an entire shift. 15 hours. It was just insane what these selfless people were doing. But I will tell you, and this is I don't really I really am proud of this, but I'm kind of ashamed. Like we had multiple buildings. We had the main hospital and we had a couple MOBs, medical office buildings offsite, and we would walk if there was something that had to be done there. Now the medical office buildings didn't have any patients. That was just people coming in for exams and things during the course of a business day. And I would walk over there to do construction work or whatever it was. And literally I would see a family with Jesus candles out there in the courtyard, and there'd be anywhere between 4 and 10 people, and they would want to say goodbye to their grandma or their grandpa or their mom, dad, brother, sister. And they would be cuddled around the Jesus candles, and people would come up to me, and this literally happened multiple times. I don't want to put a number because I don't want to lie, but literally they'd come up and go, "Our dad is Juan Gonzalez. Can you tell us at least what room he's in so that at least we can wave and say goodbye?" And I said, "Okay, I'll do that. I will do that." So I'd go inside. Nobody's going to give me this information. HIPAA, things like that. Nobody's going to give me. So I'd go in there and I'd chill out for about 5 or 8 minutes. And I'd come out and I'd walk them around the side of the building. I'd just point to a random room and I'd say, "That's where they are. That's where your dad or your uncle or whoever is there." And they would be so grateful. They'd be hugging me and literally now I got to go to work. And it's just it literally happened countless times, not countless, but a lot of times. And, Donald Trump is the one who perpetrated that. He literally is the man who, after he almost died at Walter Reed from COVID, took his mask out on the South Lawn and threw it on the ground, telling the world this isn't real. Okay. COVID got close. COVID got close. And then you have the mega trash that literally will disparage the brave people like Anthony Fauci and Deborah Birx, who are trying to save this country, who are literally trying to get out poignant information on a disease we didn't have a cure for. I will say this, Donald Trump, much to his, and this is the irony, here is the devil's razor, is literally he got the vaccine through. Operations Warp Speed, absolutely did it. But the funny thing is, because he's disparaged COVID so much, he'll never be able to take credit for it. Oh, that's beautiful. The one accomplishment in that POS's presidential term, he can't take credit for it. Gosh, that is just irony so thick you can cut it with a knife. But let's get back. He said China is the one who stopped him in 2020. No, you stopped yourself, you big yellow piece of garbage. Nobody else did. Your incompetence. You destroyed our economy. You destroyed our livelihood. You destroyed our society. Yes, you had 100% culpability in the reason you got smoke showed by our boy Joe Biden. Also, he said tonight, and literally, what he wants to do is make sure we don't vote. He wants to destroy all integrity in the voting system. And as far as I'm concerned, I hope all the MAGA believe him and they don't vote. Because I'll tell you something right now. I'm voting. I believe in our systems. Ray Krebs, which we're going to get to in a second, in 2020, that was Donald Trump's head of cybersecurity, election safety, said the 2020 election was the safest in the history of the United States. Okay. But Donald don't need that. No. In the middle of July, after 18 months, all of a sudden he's bringing this out. Excuse me? He's going to declassify some documents. Oh, okay. Hey, I got a funny fact. How about we declassify the Epstein files? How about that one? This POS is going to sit here and tell us he's declassifying stuff about China doing that. How about the Epstein files? The same thing you have been trying to hide with every breath you take for the last 18 months. Well, Pam Bondi ain't doing a good enough job. Thomas Massie got that law through. We got to get in Todd Blanche. And Todd Blanche is doing everything he can to obscure, mitigate, and make irrelevant the poor Epstein victims. How about we talk about that, buddy? How about that, Donnie? Fat Don? Well, I'm getting worked up. You know, he said in the hearing or in his little speech tonight that people who give him his daily briefing as president, and the funny joke is that he never reads the daily briefing. Like in the war, Pete Hegseth or somebody from the Pentagon would literally give him a 2-minute video each morning, supposedly, about all the stuff we blew up. Literally, he has been notorious for in his 5.5 years as president of the United States, not reading the morning briefing. He doesn't read it. He wants people to tell him what's in it. He doesn't want to read it. And I don't know if we got to hand this dude crayons or it's the cognitive decline, but I'll tell you this much, we need to hand him a form where he says he resigns because this dude's got to go. He also came up with Maduro in 2020. CIA knew about it. The deep state knew about it. Okay. Right. Okay. China knew about it. Yeah. Okay. Literally no names. He's just throwing stuff against the wall and see what sits. And let me tell you something. He's trying to solidify his MAGA base because he has lost so unbelievably bad in Iran. He said that. He literally had 2 lines at the beginning of the speech. Well, we've done so amazing in Iran. Yeah, right. For the Iranians, for them, yeah, it's going great. They're actually signing up for the sequel to this war because it's been so profitable for them. Just saying. Honestly, that speech tonight to me was the greatest threat I've ever seen to democracy, and it came from the president of the United States. He is basically telling everybody in the United States the elections don't matter. And it is so ironic because the Republicans have been winning the elections, and yet he says the elections are susceptible. It doesn't. How does that make? Does he want us to go back to 2024 and look at that? I don't know. You know, just saying. Okay. Let's talk about some election integrity issues, if you don't mind, okay? Let's go back in the time capsule. Yeah, I know. Scorched earth, man. We got the best, don't we? Let's talk about the 2016 election. Let's talk about what our boy, Robert Mueller, former FBI director, a Republican, figured out about the 2016 election. Let's talk about that one, where Donald Trump literally, by a razor's edge, defeated Hillary Clinton. Okay, let's talk about it. It does seem in the Mueller report that Russia was quite interfering with that election. Fun fact, he didn't seem to bring that up. Yeah, that's weird. Talks about China from 20 to 23, even though he won the 2024 election, but he doesn't talk about the 2016 election. Let's delve into it a little, my friends. This is Mueller's team found that Russia interfered with sweeping and systematic fashion through two main operations coming in and during the 2016 presidential election. They used social media and an IRA operation. The Internet Research Agency ran a social media influence campaign. Russia started this in 2014. And they planned it out all the way to go through to the 2016 election. And content from this effort reached an enormous audience. It reached over 126 million people on Facebook alone. Literally that disinformation. Oh, Barack Obama's this, the birther stuff, literally Hillary this, Hillary that. Literally, they started a brainwashing campaign, Russia did. Because fun fact, they wanted Donald Trump to get elected. Wow, ain't that something? I remember back in the day when the Republicans actually didn't like the communists over there in Russia. But then that was before Vladimir Putin got a P video of a certain man who was running for president. I don't know. I just don't know. NPR reported on the release, noted that the effort didn't happen overnight. Russian agents began covert research trips to the United States as early as 2013, building accounts that gradually gained traction in the American social media atmosphere, at times getting engagement from people in Trump's actual orbit, like Kellyanne Conway and Donald Trump Jr. Oh, took a little time off from the nose candy, huh? Wow. He was tweeting back. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Russia military intelligence, which is called the GRU, hacked Democratic. This is in the Mueller report. This isn't John just spooling stuff. This is, forget what all you say that it exonerated him and all this. This is in the Mueller report, that the Russian military intelligence hacked Democratic email accounts, released the material through entities tied to WikiLeaks. I don't know if you remember in 2016, Donald Trump, in one of his campaign stops, literally asked Russia to release everything they had on Hillary. And fun fact, they did. Oh, wow. What a coincidence, huh? Alongside the hacking of Clinton campaign related databases. Beyond that, Russia also targeted election administration databases in up to 12 states. Oh, wow. Now, I don't know what states they are, but if you remember, it was 70,000 votes basically that turned that whole election with Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. I don't know about you, but when they have access to 128 million people on Facebook alone, and Russia can push all their propaganda about how Hillary and Barack Obama are bad and how Donald Trump is great, I don't know. Seems more than logical that 70,000 people could have flipped the vote. And it wasn't even 70,000, it would have been 35,000 in one. I'm doing the math for the MAGA because they're over at the kids' table doing the coloring books. The prosecutor said that it resulted, or they actually brought charges against 25 Russian individuals, 3 Russian companies, and 34 people were charged in criminal court. Now, fun fact, Russia doesn't export any of their criminals, so basically they were nothing, right? They just can't travel where the U.S. can nag them. But Chris Krebs, who was Donald Trump's own handpicked cybersecurity expert, election security expert in his administration, well, he came out with something in December of 2020. Oh, interesting. CISA and the Bipartisan Election and Infrastructure Government Coordinating Council issued a joint statement declaring the 2020 election the most secure in American history. Citing the absence of any evidence for compromised voting systems or fraud. It came from the same election security apparatus Trump's own administration had built, maintained, and staffed, largely by career officials that he vetted. Wow! Wow! I guess even they got a little bit of honesty in them. But of course, after that, days later, Donald has to fire Krebs because, hey, we can't have anybody who's doing the contradiction stuff. Bill Barr, the attorney general at the time, said it was also BS what Trump was talking about. He didn't get fired, I don't think. I think he resigned before he got fired. It was wonderful. Trump called, after he fired Krebs, called his statement highly inaccurate. You know, once again, it's another Trumpism. Oh, it's a vagity, and oh, I heard from a guy, and everybody says I'm so great, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, right, right. We all live in the real world. Donald Trump's living in literally the Twilight Zone. Then he claimed the usual thing like we got tonight, people voting, poll watchers being denied access, machine glitches, switching votes, and other fraud allegations. I want to put this pivot, and I got this tonight from the great, and I do mean this, great Margaret Brennan over there at CBS. In our current election system, 95.5% of all votes have a paper ballot behind them. They got a piece of paper. So like in Georgia in 2020, when Donald Trump disputed the results that Joe Biden smoked him, they were able to actually go back and look at every actual physical vote. It wasn't a machine. It was actually a piece of paper. And Joe won all 3 times. Remember, that's back when Donald Trump said, I need the 11,000 vote thing. Where really he was just trying to rig it. He didn't want democracy. He just wanted to win. God, can you imagine that guy with 8 straight years? Oh, Lord help us. Of course, Trump, like tonight, didn't give any information, actual facts, actual charges against these fraud allegations. Krebs also, after he was fired, testified to the same cause and the same line before the Senate that December, describing CISA's work building resilience into election systems and stating flatly that the process had held up and was successful in terms of integrity. This is Donald Trump's own guy. Okay, so Russia had access to 128 million, 126 million people on Facebook, won the election by 70,000. Wow. I don't really know. I don't really think we have to go far to connect the dots. There has been election fraud. It happened in 2016. It didn't happen in 2020. Didn't happen in 2024. I mean, yeah, I see a lot of stuff that Kamala really won, but I'm not buying. Look, I think honestly, every MAGA knows Donald Trump lost in 2020, but it's like a litmus test, a loyalty test. It's not an actual intellectual test of facts. It's literally like, hey, we just have to bond together on this insane, death trip we're going to go on. Just the thought. In April 2025, last year, Trump ordered DHS and the AG to investigate Krebs and revoke his security clearance. Okay, because the guy said it was a cool election, it was a good election, it was a fair election. He decided he was going to get his cronies to investigate Krebs. No charges. Let us make sure 18 months into Donald Trump's administration, there's no charges. There's no indictments. This is an administration that indicted James Comey for a picture of seashells. Okay, so it's not like they really go into court with a lot of evidence anyway, and they still don't have anything going on. He said Krebs falsely and baselessly denied that the 2020 election was rigged and stolen. Krebs had the evidence. He went in front of the Senate. He showed the evidence. Donald Trump hasn't. 6 years later, we still don't have any evidence of this nonsense. Oh, Rudy Giuliani has it. Oh, wait, he's dead. Thank God. That drew pushback from dozens of cybersecurity experts who, in a letter organized to the Trump administration, called the investigation retribution for Krebs' correct assertion that the 2020 election was fair and secure. Wow. Yeah, all these cybersecurity experts said, yeah, we looked at his analytics, we looked at his data, everything he says is spot on. But no, Donald Trump just wants to sit there and push the utter BS that comes out of his mouth literally with every breath he takes. CISA, Ray Krebs, literally the infrastructure literally showed analytical evidence that there was nothing in 2020. Robert Mueller literally showed in 2016 that Russia physically was involved in altering that election. I know Robert Mueller didn't come out to say that exactly, but he led us to the trough. He led us there. Let's talk about the GRU, that's the Russian military intelligence indictment. That was July 13th of 2018. And they talk about how they hacked into our election systems in detail. Mueller charged 12 Russian intelligence officers, all members of the GRU, working under 2 units. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rothstein of the Trump administration announcing it was explicit that no American was charged. Yeah, right. We're going to get to that in a second. And that the indictment didn't allege that the hacking altered any vote count or results. Right. Nobody's buying that one. Literally, Robert Mueller, being a dignified man, didn't. And look, the Trump administration was circling in. They were like, we cannot say that we won falsely. They literally were doing everything. Rosenstein, excuse me, apologies, literally was covering. He didn't want to get fired. This was pre-Trump too, where everybody, if they even look at him sideways and they don't say he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, they literally get the shown the door. See you later. How you doing there, right? Well, in the Robert Mueller report, the GRU hacked into the Democratic National Committee, the DCCC, Clinton campaign networks, stealing tens of thousands of emails and documents. One team retrieved the material. A second team was actually handling the distribution to media outlets, including WikiLeaks and other conservative outlets. They're doing that for 2 years. Wow, ain't that something? Ain't that something? They set up the DC Leaks, and I remember seeing that. I didn't know until I started doing research tonight that DC Leaks was a Russian operative website. Oh, Robert Mueller found that out. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? They posed DC Leaks as American hacktivist and later adopted Guccifer 2.0 persona, claiming that it was a lone Romanian hacker. And I remember that as clear as day, that there was this guy, he left anonymous and he was over in Romania, Romaine. Don't eat the lettuce. I don't know if you heard what's going on, but please, my friends, don't eat the lettuce. Give it to a MAGA friend. Yeah. And then get out of the way, because it ain't going to be pretty. Once again, another Trump winner. Yeah. Guccifer 2.0 back at the time was talked about. It was a Romanian operation. And then we found out literally Russia put tens of millions of dollars into this basic fake website that literally allowed them to hack into, well, they were sharing the information their other unit was hacking into of all the Democrats. Now, I don't hear anything going on with the Republicans. Oh, wait, that's because they were all meeting with their Russian operatives. Oh, ain't that sweet? Obviously, Guccifer fed a lot of information to WikiLeaks. I will tell you this. WikiLeaks exposed a lot of stuff inside the Clinton world. I will say this. I am very mixed on how I felt about Julian Assange. I think that what he did, especially with the Snowden incident, was actually a good thing for democracy, but I don't want to give that guy too much credit. I really am on the fence on him, but it included 20,000 emails Guccifer released to the public, also communicated directly with journalists that were pro-Trump, and including Trump ally Roger Stone, who later posted screenshots of private exchanges involving Hillary and her campaign. Separately, here's where it gets interesting. GRU officials hacked a state board of elections website, wait for it, in Georgia, Iowa, and Florida. I don't think I got to tell you in 2016 who won those states. Let's see how this all plays out. This is in the Mueller report. They hacked the elections website, stole data on roughly over 500,000 voters, and probed county-wide election websites in Georgia, Iowa, and Florida for ultimate vulnerabilities. Oh, isn't that sweet? Ain't that sweet? And, 500,000 people just in those 3 states. And Donald Trump won by 70,000 in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Yeah, ain't that something? Wow, ain't that something? Hi, there's been election interference. You go back to the Kennedy, the mob kind of did some shenanigans in Illinois. Look, I'm a Kennedy fan. Okay, let's call it what it is. Donald Trump absolutely got elected in 2016 with the help of Russia. I really don't care what Robert Mueller, I can read his report. I don't really care what his final conclusion, because honestly, his final conclusion really came to nothing, because he was such an he was actually doing what he was told to do, that he wasn't going to render any type of judgment. But there was a lot of people, especially Michael Flynn, George Pakanopoulos, whatever that guy's name is. There was a lot of people who literally met with Russian agents in Trump Tower, literally in Trump Tower. At some point, Donald Trump is trying to not admit that in 2016, he got elected basically because of Russian influence. And then somehow China, who doesn't like him, hacked into the system, and somehow he still won. I don't know about you, but if China really hacked into the system, don't you think they would have let Kamala Harris win? I don't know. Or maybe Comrade Don is really a friend of the Chinese people. I don't know. Just a thought. All right. let's go. Oh, wow. Looks like I'm getting warned. I guess I'm getting a little angry. Oh, getting a little angry there. All right. Let's talk about unredacted files and releasing stuff to the public. And let's talk about the Epstein files, because you know what? That just is insane that we're still at this place where these girls, these survivors, these victims are not getting any type of justice. It is just so disgusting. Let me put it to you like this. If you took the allegations that, and I want everybody to really think about this honestly. Hundreds, thousands of girls were trafficked, assaulted, raped, abused. If one of those girls went to CPS, I don't know, and I hope I am correct here. I'm going to just say that. I would assume CPS would be all over that house. I understand there's glitches in the system. I do. I'm not going to say that. There is a lot of people who have been abused in the system and they never received justice. But we literally have thousands of people who are claiming the same thing by the same people and nothing is getting done. You know, James Comer, the head of the Epstein Commission over there at the House, and he doesn't want to get primaried, so he can't really get going. There's no video, there's no audio, and there's absolutely no oath. Oh, we can just go in there and say whatever we want because there's no repercussions for us lying. Okay. And if you think the video doesn't matter, if you don't think the audio doesn't matter, let me give you an example. We had two people murdered by ICE in Minnesota, Renee Good and Alex Preddy. It was on video. It was on audio. We saw it for our own eyes, kind of like George Floyd. I'm going to say something that's controversial. We've had two other people murdered by ICE in the last week. A gentleman named Lorenzo in Houston. There's one in Maine, Juan, Joan. I don't know what they look like. And literally, and I mean this with basically embarrassment, in 2 weeks, I'm not going to remember them. You know why? Because there's no video, there's no audio. That's how powerful that medium is. That is exactly why ICE isn't wearing any cameras. And that is exactly why James Comer, who's running this farcical committee, won't put anybody, all these powerful pedos, under oath, video, or audio. Now, I've had this question come to me. Well, what about the lower level? Like Leslie Groff earlier this month. She came in front of him and she basically said the same bullshit lies everybody else says of, well, you know, I didn't know nothing and I saw Jekyll. I didn't see how, you know, just the same old nonsense we see every day. Well, why aren't they going after her? Because they are scared of somebody giving a plea deal. Like if they bring charges against Leslie Groff, and that's really where they should start doubling down. Literally, these state AGs should literally put her in the crosshairs because you can get a plea deal out of this woman. She's looking at 50 years. Let me tell you something. She is going to give everybody up. She is absolutely going to be testifying at the Gates trial, at the, you know, everybody, Elon, you know, Steve Bannon, Howard Lubnick. Oh, wait, Donald Trump. Yeah, sure, she didn't know nothing. Yeah, right. Okay. But today, as we've seen all the insanity where Todd Blanche is so desperate to get the AG, man, like a dog with a bone. You corrupt pedo protector. Let's call him pedo protector. I don't know if he had anything to do with that. But today, Todd Blanche is continuing his little Senate nonsense. Yesterday, Tom Tillis said something interesting. Now, he's the dead man walking in the Senate. Basically, in January, he's leaving. He didn't run for re-election. He knew he was going to get primaried by Donald Trump because he actually spoke to a little truth, not a lot, because he's a Republican, but a little truth. Okay, kudos, sir, for at least having some modicum of values and morals. But he said yesterday, hey, you know, I need, and this has been a constant problem. The survivors of Epstein have complained that Pam Bondi wouldn't meet with them. And then when she was shown the door because she didn't cover it up sufficiently. Like, okay, Todd Blanche walked in and he won't meet with them either. Oh, well, Tom Tillis said, I'm not going to vote for you until you meet with the Epstein survivors. So, fun fact, he met with them today, and that had literally had to be the most uncomfortable meeting in the history of the world, because all Todd Blanche wants to do is cover it up so he can get that vaunted attorney general moniker. He wants permanent. He doesn't want temporary. Well, we had this brave victim, survivor. Her name is Demi Bensky, and she testified before the Senate today, and kudos to her. And I will tell you this, I can't even imagine a lady going up against these powerful men. This lady has everything to lose, nothing to gain. There's been NDAs, there's been private settlements, things like that. But literally, we understand how vengeant Donald Trump is to his political enemies. What can you imagine what a normal human being is going up against the president and literally possibly accusing him of literally the most heinous crimes? Like, what kind of stones does this girl have? She literally is braver than everybody in the Trump administration times 5. I salute this lady. I salute. She's been trying to get justice for like 10 years and nobody's listening to her. Finally, she went in front of a Senate committee. No blacking out. She didn't redact her name. She literally said, let's go. Let's go. And I'll tell you something. Kudos to her. I personally, I would take one Demi Bensky versus 500 Donald Trumps, because this lady is about something. This lady has some character, she has some value, and she definitely has worth. Ugh, I'm starting to get emotional here. She called out Todd Blanche for not releasing the Epstein files. Wow, okay, I get that. That's got to get old when you've got millions of files that still have yet to be released. Also, she talked about releasing personal information of survivors to the public. And this is a cute little thing the Trump administration has done. They don't release the files, but wow, they release all the personal information on the victims and the survivors. Basically, we've talked about this pizza doxing, and that's where Donald Trump goes on social media. He calls out a judge, he calls out an attorney general, somebody like that by name, and he does it intentionally. And then that's the siren, that's the whistle for his maggots. Yeah, I said that. So literally, they can do some investigation. And one of the things with pizza doxing is they start sending pizzas to them at 1 a.m. They send it to their family, they send it to their friends, and basically they're telling that person of interest that they know where they live. So you better get on the right path with Donald Trump. Well, this girl literally is talking about how, amazingly, when they release stuff in the Epstein files, they release all the personal information about where these girls live. You know, they got trafficked, they got used, they got abused, and then they got kicked to the curb, and now they want to put another bullseye on them. Like, literally, how cruel are these people? Like, how evil? You know, I hope there's a heaven. I do. And I'll tell you this, if there's a hell, I know where all these SOBs are going. Because literally, when I read about her story, when I read about the other stories, and Julie Brown from the Miami Herald has done such a wonderful job. She got a Pulitzer for it, literally chronicling what these survivors have been going through. Please think about reading what she talks about. She cried in front of the Senate committee. She said, Todd Blanche has never attempted to listen to us. Crime victims, survivors repeatedly asked to meet. Her and her survivors have repeatedly asked to meet with Todd Blanche through multiple channels. He has not responded. Oh, today he did because he wants Tom Tillis's vote. Oh, ain't that something? Wow, what a piece of crap that dude is. I mean, really, on every level, right? She added, crime victims deserve better from the nation's highest level of law enforcement officials. We deserve to be heard directly, not dismissed and ignored. Cool. This lady is real. This lady is amazing. Kudos to her. She also condemned Blanche's 9-hour meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell at a maximum security Florida prison before she shortly moved to a club Club Fed, a Marriott in the middle of Texas, minimum security. Met with her for 9 hours. Got to get our story straight before we give you the pardon, honey. Yeah. Hasn't met for 9 minutes with all the Epstein victims. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Then today he got out there and he's going to meet with them. Yeah, because he wants that job that bad. All right. I will tell you this. I don't care if I was a Republican, any Republican who votes for this guy for attorney general, I would never vote for that human being again. That literally is showing the truth of their character. Straight up. You vote for this guy, you literally are a disgusting, vile scum. How do you really feel, John? The final shot by the amazing Demi Bensky. She said, in our nation, everyone deserves equal protection under the law. Todd Blanche has been unwilling to protect Epstein survivors' personal information and has been resistant to investigate the people who helped Epstein and Maxwell commit these heinous crimes. We need an attorney general committed to ensuring that everyone who facilitated Epstein's crimes is held accountable. Amen, girl. And let's start at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, because let me tell you something. That's where the chief pedo lives. Oh, and the enabler, his wife, Melania. Yeah, let's go. Let's talk about it. All right, we're gonna rock and roll. I want to talk. I'm feeling good right now. So we do this for an hour every night at 7:00. We're gonna rock and roll. We're gonna get some stuff going. How stupid is Texas? Jesus H. How stupid is Texas? Let me tell you something. When you got Greg Abbott and the rest of the red wave running it, it's pretty effing stupid, right? You know, we all know Greg Abbott. He's a guy who doesn't take any blame for anything. It's always somebody else. It's always the socialist. It's always the communist. Fun fact, Democrat hasn't won a statewide office since 1994, but somehow we're a threat. Okay. All right, that's good. The 2021 energy debacle, where over 100 people froze to death, died because they couldn't get electricity in the Texas winter. That's when Cancun Ted took off to a warmer climate. Don't worry about your constituents. They probably weren't going to vote for you anyway. Don't worry about it, Ted. It's all good. Get those Ferragamo boat shoes on and head to the airport, buddy. That's the guy you want to reelect right there. That's the guy, right? Well, we had the tragic situation a year ago where the Texas floods came in, killed over 130 people, killed 25 girls at the Camp Mystic. Terrible tragedy. Okay. We're going to get into some of the stuff, but right now, Texas is once again experiencing terrible floods in the same valleys. South Central Texas has been under rare level 4 high-risk flood outlook for 2 straight days. Greg Abbott finally did something, declared disaster area for 59 counties. Let me tell you something. We'll make sure that FEMA gets there this time. Don't worry about it. Yeah, because it's Republican. We don't have to worry about the Democratic areas like California and their wildfires and that kind of stuff, or the storm in February for New Hampshire, Rhode Island, New York, Massachusetts. No, we don't have to worry about that many. We're going to make sure we get some over there to good old Texas, the good old boys. Yeah, it's funny. For people who say they don't want government help, they can't get that handout quick enough, can they? I just saying. Well, currently, Uvalde has been hit hardest by the flooding. Nearly 20 inches of rain have fallen in the last 48 hours. Yeah, climate change ain't a real thing. Okay, let's keep believing that one. There's been more than 40 water rescues so far. Roads and bridges have washed out across multiple counties. There is one confirmed fatality, which I am thankful that's all there is, because Texas literally knows how to mess up anything. They could screw up boiling water. Greg Abbott is that incompetent. Literally. Couldn't handle Uvalde, couldn't handle the energy problem, couldn't handle the Texas floods a year ago, blamed everybody else, wasn't Greg. Let's keep reelecting that dude. Well, basically this year's event hit 1 year, basically 1 year after the Camp Mystic, and last year's Hill Hill Country flood, which was July 4th to 5th, killed 139 plus people, and the damage was over $1.2 billion. Now, if you remember correctly, we were talking about this as it was unfolding. This is also the same area that turned back the Biden money. Now, Joe Biden was obviously a good human being, right? I wish he would have been a little more of a mean hombre, okay? But this is a gentleman who, after he finally got his Infrastructure Act passed, literally 55% of the money went to red states. The people who opposed the bill, Nancy Mace, Boebert, literally, once it passed by the skin of its chinny chin chin, they couldn't get their hand out quick. Oh, put a bridge in our thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene was trying to get infrastructure money. All of a sudden, they oppose it with everything they can. But once it passes, man, and Joe Biden, God bless him, he said, when they asked, well, why are you giving a majority of the money to people who voted against you? And he basically said, because they need it the most. And he's absolutely right. Like, let's be honest, I've lived in the South. It's a welfare state. It literally is. They don't care about the people. I don't understand why there's such a deep-rooted ability to keep voting for Republicans. I think it's God and it's guns. Okay, maybe it is. I don't know. But if you really look at the standard of living, I mean, I don't want to be disparaging, but I'm going to be. Like, if you've ever been through Mississippi or Arkansas, you're like, is this America? Like, literally? And I am not putting this on the people. I'm putting it on the government officials. Like, the Republicans who've been running those basically closed loops for literally 40 or 50 years. And somehow they are able to blame the progressives, and it's Zoran Mondani and it's Gavin Newsom, and Jesus, man. I'll tell you this. If my state was 45th, 46th, 47th in education every effing year, hey, how you doing, Oklahoma? How you doing, Mississippi? How you doing, Arkansas? I don't think I'd keep voting for those same people. I'm just saying. Well, back in 2021, Biden offered $10 million to Kerr County in money to start a flood control warning system. Now, this is how ingrained and how stupid the MAGAs are. And believe me, that's not saying quite a bit. 42%, when the money was offered, of the locals wanted to reject it because it had federal strings. Oh my God. If they would have took that money, there'd be 139 more people alive today in the great state of Texas. Okay? So he offered the money for a flood control system. Eventually, because we all know how it works, and this is Democrat or Republican, states and municipalities are going to take the money. What did they take the money and do? Did they put the flood control warning system in? Oh, no. They're not going to do that. They took the money and they put it into a sheriff radio system. Okay. Got to help law enforcement. Hey, maybe we can put some money down there at the border. Stop those illegals from coming over. Also, the flood warning system, even though Joe Biden offered $10 million, it would have only cost about $2 million. So they could have had $8 million for their graft and corruption and AK-47s and probably the sheriff radio system too. But no, we can't do that. And then, of course, last year, 2025, we lost 139 beautiful human beings, 25 at the Camp Mystic. Now, Texas denied Kerr County flood warning grant applications in 2017 and 2018. And basically, Kerr County applied to the state to basically consider to designate this area as an active flood area. And Texas said, no, that's never going to happen. Oh, yeah. Okay. ProPublica found that even after the 2025 disaster, Kerr County and 90 other local governments had still turned down tens of millions of dollars from a $1.4 billion state flood fund. State lawmakers publicly blasted local officials for this in hearings. So even after the flooding 1 year ago, and they could go into this flood fund to beef up their systems to protect their population, they still said, no, we ain't doing that. Now, if you want to give us the money so we can buy more AK-47s, yeah, we'll do that. Wow, ain't that something? Here's where it really got tells you how stupid this state is. Yeah, I know. This ain't your mom's podcast. So, Camp Mystic, after they lost 25 girls, they lost some counselors, they lost, literally everybody, right? Because they didn't have a warning plan. They didn't have an evacuation plan. Hey, we're just going to close literally, we're just going to close the doors and keep the water out. Okay, that'll really work. It didn't. 25 girls died. Okay. Well, Camp Mystic, after that, because, hey, it's only a couple people died, right? Only a couple kids. Hey, we said a prayer for them. They tried to reapply to reopen this summer. Oh, and they were well on their way to getting their wishes. Because you know how it works, my friends. We just got to grease a couple local politicians and everything will work out okay out down here in the great southern state of Texas. Well, Camp Mystic, the killers of those 25 girls, officially applied to reopen in the summer of 2026, specifically at its Cypress Lake campus. Now, that's not the Guadalupe campus. I guess they got multiple places where people can go to die because they're so incompetent in dealing with floods. DHS confirmed the application was in active review, moving towards a pre-license inspection and granted of licensing for the summer. Ooh. A March 4th ruling by Travis County Judge Maya Guerrero barred the Guadalupe campus, that's where 27 campers and counselors died, from being altered, modified, or used for camp operations in 2026. But the ruling only blocked out that one campus, not the camp's licenses for all their other facilities. So they were up and running. They were getting ready to go. Camp Mystic's legal team even filed an appeal of that injunction for the Guadalupe campus because, hey, man, money never sleeps. We got to keep doing it. Don't matter how many graves we got to have out back of the campers. Don't worry about it. We got to get new campers in. And then we got to put out a public release about how bad we feel for the families. Filed an appeal of that injunction, meaning they were actively fighting to even keep the Guadalupe site in play. This was actually in February of this year. They were on their way to getting another license because Texas forgives and forgets, unless you're a Democrat. Then it's a grievous sin that can never be forgiven. Well, the families of those beautiful people who were lost, 27, at Camp Mystic, they had something to say at the state capitol, and they weren't happy, and they didn't want to hear the hopes and prayers nonsense we always hear after the shootings. And they were angry and they were loud, and basically the state backed down. Basically, the state that was going to allow Camp Mystic to reopen the Guadalupe campus after all these family and friends of these beautiful young girls who had passed away. And I want to put a pin in this. These beautiful girls died because of incompetence, just like the 150 plus 165 at that Tehran school. Okay? They have parents too. They have loved ones too. And it was because of the incompetence of Pete Hegseth in our military. Hey, can we just look on Google Earth before we sent the missile that'll kill them all? Oh no, we can't do that. We're busy. We're in the bomb dropping business. We don't got time for that kind of nonsense. Okay. That's amazing. Because of the 2 days of testimony at the state capitol, Camp Mystic withdrew its application on April 30th, 2026, just a few weeks before the summer season was starting. Now, even in withdrawing, camp ownership was explicit that they believed they had the legal right to reopen. Ooh. Let me tell you something. Whether it's this election nonsense, it's the Epstein thing, or Camp Mystic, our voice matters. I'm going to tell you something right now. If these brave family members who lost people in the terrible Texas floods of 2025 had not voiced their opposition, had not shown their sorrow, had not shown their anger towards the elected officials who allowed this camp to operate without an evacuation plan, without a flood plan, without anything that a normal human being would do, I think we would have had more dead bodies. I think they would have inhabited the camp. Literally, the flood's back there. And it's because those facilities were empty, we don't have dead bodies floating down the newly formed river. Yeah, ain't that something? Ain't that special? We have a voice. We need to use it. And no matter how insane Donald Trump is, telling us about this nonsensical, farcical election fraud and all this nonsense, or the government's telling us we don't have anything to look at here in the Epstein files, or we don't we've got it all figured out. Camp Mystic can open. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Hey, they're giving you an actual 12% discount if you send your kids there to get murdered. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this ain't your mom's podcast. But our voice matters. Don't ever forget that. That's why I do this podcast. That's why I got great friends who support this podcast, from Sylvia, JPT Farms. You are amazing. Down there in Texas. Literally, it is the voice of the family and friends of those people who lost their lives in that Mystic camp that prevented other people from burying their kids, burying their loved ones. And yet, I don't hear any explanation from the state of Texas. I Googled it. I ChatGPT'd it. I Clauded it. Literally, nobody's talking about it. Because you know what? Brave people in the state of Texas who are mourning, who lost their loved ones in literally the most libelous, stupid, incompetent, and believe me, that's saying a lot when you're talking about Texas, is those people saved future lives. We can save future lives by voting Democrat, by voting against this authoritarian, totalitarian kleptocracy. And that is what Donald Trump wants. He wants us all to throw our hands up and not vote. That's where I want to double down. Yeah, I'm going to vote, and I'm going to go to a No Kings rally, and I'm going to do this podcast. And let me tell you something. I'm going to beat that effing drum. You want to vote for the idiot? Yeah, that's who it is. You kids over at the MAGA table, there ain't going to be no coloring books for you this November. Sorry. You're just going to have to just use your fingernails. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. We're rocking and rolling. You're right. It is insane that they even thought about it. Like, okay. All right. I want to get to something else. Okay. I might as well just end this up where I'm a little angry. What? John, you getting angry? That don't sound like you. Yeah, it does. Boy, I got plenty. I keep hoping. I talked about this the other night. Like I said, I do this every night, 7:00 West Coast, Best Coast time. I hearken back, and maybe I'm missing something, and maybe I'm just not looking at it through true eyes. But I don't remember it always us literally having this insanity every day during the Biden administration. I just don't remember that. I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I'm just too deep in the weeds. I don't. But I just every day, it's like the house is on fire here. Like, come on, man. Like, can't they just have a day or a week where literally we don't think the end of the world's coming, and we're not looking at God? How incompetent is that? Literally, you know what my dream is? And I'm going to tell you right now. I got a lot of dreams, okay? One of them is to actually have a Democratic administration running this country. Somebody with the IQ over 10. We're not going to get that for 2.5 years. But literally, I want to wake up and I want to start looking at the news feed as I'm trying to craft the show for the night and say, I got nothing to talk about. Like everything seems okay. Like literally every night I come in here with like 8 stories or 10 stories. Most nights I can't get to 2 or 3 of them. Okay? Because literally 2 things are happening. I'm getting so worked up by the end that I know I'm going to get banned. And believe me, if you've watched this show, you know John gets banned. Because I don't have enough viewers, okay? I know I watch these other podcasts, and they're dropping F-bombs every other word. Like, literally, my producer tells me, do not cuss for the first 10 minutes. Please don't. We're going to get banned again. And literally, they're going to TikTok has threatened, because I've used obscenities like 4 or 5 times, they have threatened to take away my whole account. Like, I've done their little re-education on what social media means to people. And I'm like, wow, I got to get this. And I look at these other podcasts, and man, it literally seems like a scene out of Goodfellas. Like, or Goodwill Hunting, where everybody's dropping the F-bomb every other word. And I'm like, man, I drop them once a month, and man, strike. Like, I got a strike tonight. I don't even know what for. Maybe I deserved it, maybe I didn't, but let's get to it. So, I don't know if you kids remember Baghdad Bob. He was this mouthpiece for the Iraqi government, Saddam Hussein, and everything was always good. Oh, the Americans bombing us, but they're missing, and well, man, we're fighting back and we're taking it to them. And it was just literally nonsense. Tokyo Rose did it for the Japanese in World War II, and no matter what they said, literally everything was great. Oh, we're not going to be defeated by the adversary, by the infidel, by the great Satan, blah, 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 blah. Well, we got our own. We got our own. That's Carolyn Leavitt, White House princess slash press secretary. And she came back today. She came back. Now, where has she been, John? I'm going to tell you, she's been on maternity leave. Cool. Glad her and her, I believe her husband's 30 years older than her. I'm sure that's a very vibrant and loving relationship. But she gave birth to a child. I'm glad. She showed off on social media. Hey, man, I'm cool. I'm not gonna saddle the kid with the sins of the mother. Okay, good. I'm glad. I'm glad you have a beautiful child. I'm glad it came out healthy. I'm glad everything's great. Cool. She came back to the White House podium today. And I didn't see the press conference. I don't have access to that feed. I'm not a news organization. I do get clips out of it. But I was thinking, she's been gone since April 24th, almost 11 weeks, pretty much 11 weeks. And in that time, she got her pay, she got all her benefits, and maybe most importantly, she had a job waiting for her when she came back. Now, why is that? Because in 2019, the Democrats crafted and got passed federal legislation which allowed maternity and family paid leave for federal employees. Carolyn Leavitt is the beneficiary of that policy that was passed. I understand Donald Trump signed it. The reason he signed it, I can tell you right now, he didn't want to sign it, but it was part of a Defense Authorization Act in 2019. Basically, that was us getting our piece of the pie to let it go through. Okay, at least we got something. And it helped a lot of families. Okay? Well, Carolyn's back out there. This is a lady for the last 18 months who's been attacking SNAP people, Medicaid people, Medicare people, ACA credit people. She enjoys the benefits of what the Democrats have provided for her, yet she doesn't. She is the face and the voice of an administration that is trying to deny it for me and you out here in the private sector. Okay? I couldn't get a real number. I tried to figure out what percentage of private sector employees are able to access these kind of benefits. It did seem like it was somewhere northwards of 70%, but I can't say that for actual certainty. And our girl, Carolyn Leavitt, has multiple times praised Donald Trump and Chief of Staff Susie Wiles for creating a pro-family environment in the White House. Oh, okay. I want to bring up some of the things that came out of the big, beautiful bill. I want to see if I could, this was this amazing piece of legislation, really, against the American people that Donald Trump and the Republican sickos passed last July. Women in that bill now, through Medicaid mostly, some Medicare, who give birth, newborn baby, bless you, to keep their SNAP and Medicaid benefits, they have to self-attest. We're going to get to that in a second. And get provider paperwork filed and survive a notice of noncompliance process within 1 week of giving birth, right? Or they get kicked off the plan. Now, basically what that is now you have to work 80 hours a month to get any type of SNAP or Medicaid, okay? If you give birth you have 1 week to file the paperwork properly that says, I am incapacitated. I can't get the 80 hours this month. This is no joke. So I can't even imagine how hard it is for our beautiful women in this country, in this society, to give birth. You know, they say the pain would kill a man. I think they're right. Like literally, when I get a paper cut, I'm crying for hours. Right? Women are so much tougher than men will ever be. But literally, after giving birth, within 1 week, they have to file this self-attest, which basically says, I am incapacitated. I cannot get my 80 hours in this month, and notice of noncompliance. Basically, both those pieces of paper have to go in. Now, why do they have to do two pieces of paper, you ask? Because they're hoping you're going to mess up on one and they can kick you off. I mean, really, both papers basically do the same thing. Yeah, they could say one's going to the state, one's going to the federal. Yeah, okay, whatever you say. But really, they're looking for any reason to kick hardworking Americans, women who have given birth to the next generation of beautiful American people, a reason to kick them off the plan. Oh, that's okay. We could spend $90 billion in that Middle East sinkhole, but hey, people here in America, we got to make sure they get off the plan because it's all fraud. Yeah, ain't that something, right? Also, you know, I saw Carolyn Levin and she was getting asked questions, and I was just thinking, you know, how can you be the mouthpiece for this administration when you're enjoying the benefits and privileges that us Democrats have literally fought for a long time? And, you know, we talk about this, about how we fought for minority rights, gay rights, people like that. And then, you know, we have people over there in the administration, Scott Bessent, who literally enjoys the privileges of what we have fought for. And we had to fight for everything tooth and nail. We were told it was wrong. It was going to destroy the society. I remember back in the day when we were told, and this wasn't that long ago, it was less than 20 years ago, that we were told if gay people were allowed to marry, it would destroy marriage. Not really. Not really. I actually think marriage is actually a more vibrant and sincere institution because everybody can do it. It's not an exclusionary club. Look, I'm going to tell you something. This is how I feel. We should all have the opportunity to have paid and maternity leave for every American here. It shouldn't just be federal employees. Yeah, I know we got to start walking before we run. But I will tell you this, anything that excludes a majority of Americans is probably really corrupt. It's really disgusting. It's really venal. And literally the Trump administration, that's all they're about. They don't care about what's right. They just care about performative art that basically makes them richer and richer. You know, I saw a clip back from the big, beautiful bill from a year ago, and Donald Trump was saying, you know, it's amazing. This bill allows one of my friends to get a private jet. And really, that says it all. Like, okay, the richest people in America are now going to become richer. You and I, we don't have a chance in the game. We can't even figure out how to fill up our gas tank. Like, literally. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all getting around. I will say this, not really much on the war front. There probably is, but literally I got consumed with that horrific, stupid, moronic national defense or address, excuse me, that Donald Trump made to the American people. He hasn't made one about the war. He hasn't made one about affordability. He hasn't talked about gas. He hasn't talked about inflation. He hasn't talked about any of that stuff yet. Boy, he can't get on there talking about voting. He's been in office for 18 months, and all of a sudden, now in a day in July, it pops up and it's a big deal. Okay, maybe they're getting desperate. Is he going to rig the vote? Yeah. You know, I think what they're going to do, and you hear a million different theories, I think it's pretty obvious. They're going to go to Democratic counties and they're going to put ICE there. And I'll tell you this, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I am very weary of going where there's police activity, straight up. I'm just saying. I will go in and vote. I will, just so I can do an FU to them. But a lot of people won't. And it's not because they have anything to hide. It's an intimidating force. I think that's exactly what they're planning. I think that's what they're laying the predicate down. And the people at the mega table, you can Google what that word means. I didn't mean to flummox you too early on a Thursday evening. You know, just what I got to say. And I I can't believe that I was witness to literally the most despicable display of anti-democrat sentiment coming from the president of the United States, and I saw that in full throat tonight. And it made me ashamed to be an American citizen, and it made me ashamed to be living in this democracy where we voted for this man. And literally, we need to get the 25th Amendment, and we need to get this mofo out of here right now. I know that's not going to happen. How crazy is it when I sit there and I think J.D. Vance is a more responsible human being to be president? And, I don't know if you've seen the things that have been coming out the last couple of days. I follow the news maybe a little more than most. They're talking about how he's abusing the Secret Service. Like he had the Secret Service take his kid to a golf lesson on a military helicopter. Wow. And then, like, literally, he holds up things that to the last possible minute so that he can get quicker access on a limo or a jet, just burning through all kinds of cash, because, hey, he's going to enjoy his ride. Yeah, on our expense, just like Donald Trump does. Donald Trump goes to one of his golf clubs, and you know what he does? He makes all the Secret Service stay at the club, and they charge premium rates. Oh, we got to charge the presidential rate. Yeah, okay, sounds good. Yeah, don't worry about it. Take that $200 a room night and make, a night a room. I'll figure it out one of these days and charge $800 because hey, the taxpayer's paying for it. We've seen the numbers that we've already paid like $165 million for his little golf excursions in the last 18 months. Wow, ain't that something? 8 million a month. That sounds good. Why do you think he golfs every weekend? Well, because he really doesn't like doing president stuff, except when he tries to get us into wars. Don't worry about it. God, I really hate going over to, Landover. I hate going to Maryland and receiving the dignified transfers. That's a bummer. Let's make sure it's at noon so I can make sure I can get my golf game down in Florida at 8:00. Yeah. Okay. We need to get rid of this guy. And you know where it all starts? It all starts with us voting in the midterms. It really does. We need to do it. This is a crisis of epic proportions. He is literally trying to destroy our faith in the voting system. And that this human scum, and I'm going to call him Donald Trump, he got to go. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Like I said, 50-50. I'm going to be here tomorrow night. I wish I could give you more definitive, but man, I want to see the Odyssey. All right. I want to tell you something. We're in this together. We're going to beat these SOBs. We are. They could take away our democracy. They could strip us of everything we got. We still got each other. And you know what? We're going to show them the power of the people come this November. F them all. All right. That's it for today. Love you all. Scorched Earth, 7:00, West Coast, Best Coast time. Have a beautiful Thursday night. Have a wonderful Friday. If we don't see each other tomorrow, have a beautiful weekend. We need each other. Okay? Peace out. I love you all. Bye.